All right, so let's go ahead and we'll get started. All right, so where we left off last was in our last session. You guys were finishing up finding Narenvain, and Narenvain is the son of King Melondrock, which is the king of the elves that reside here on the map, the Misty Forest. So you guys found out along the way that King Melondrock's son had been exiled away from his kingdom in the Misty Forest, and he was actually the one that was behind all of these attacks that were happening all throughout the Misty Forest with this green dragon. This green dragon's name was Chuth, I believe. And these two were going around all of these small elvish settlements and villages, the wood elves and everything else, and just destroying everything, taking all of their loot and taking it back to their lair. Well, you guys had investigated, and you got to a small town, a small village that was just recently attacked, where the king had sent his other son to investigate. They investigated it and started tracking the dragon north. Well, obviously they tracked it wrong because the lair was to the southwest. After some great investigation, some great roleplay, you found out one of the wardens was involved that had actually made a deal with Narenvain and Chuth, actually to save the village, but the deal that he made was still pretty bad. So you guys went to Chuth's lair, found Narenvain, released a bunch of elvish prisoners, found a well, you actually had one left that was a captive. A zone of truth was basically brought up. Party members were standing in the zone of truth, and then the interrogation from the cultist then turned to the party members interrogating one another that were in the zone of truth, which was actually pretty interesting. I believe some of the words were, "I'm going to kill all of you now in your sleep," or some shit.
Yeah, that's right. And
Yes.
F you, Tiberius.
Yeah. So that was actually pretty interesting. Needless to say, you did find out the information that you needed. You found all of the elvish riches that had been taken throughout the Misty Forest. You found out that Narenvain was actually the son of King Melondrock. Melondrock still does not know yet. You almost slayed actually the dragon almost slayed you, but you had done enough to the dragon where the dragon didn't want to take anything for granted and stay and try to kill you guys. So the dragon actually fled. And that's where we left off. You guys got out of Narenvain's lair / Chuth's lair, and that is where you met with Otari. You
I'm
guys
sorry,
remember...
Dave. I had you on mute that whole time. Could you repeat what you
no
said?
problem. But you
No,
remember...
just joking.
I know you are. But you remember Otari as the female that you had met during the second Council of Waterdeep, and she has actually turned out to be a dragon. She is a brass dragon, and she has proposed that you all knew that the chromatic, well, not the chromatic, but the metallic dragons wanted to have an audience with the humanoid factions of the Sword Coast and the lands of Faerun. And of course, the dragons and the humanoids. The dragons really don't trust the humanoids, and a lot of the races don't trust the dragons either. You have the elves had problems with the dragons, the dwarves have had problems with the dragons, the humans have basically been fighting each other, which really hasn't really pestered the dragons too much. So you guys are going to have an audience with the 5 ancient dragons of their types. And this Otari had met you back at the village where you had first went in the Misty Forest. Now, she has put a sort of like a ward on you to where you are able to fly on her back, which is a 600-mile trip to the Nether Mountains, which is up here to the northeast, and I will take the arrow, move it up here, and you guys are going to the Nether Mountain region, and I will also sync the map with me. There you go.
So basically we're going to the Nether regions?
You are going to the Nether region mountains, yes. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Dragons and Nether regions. How delightful.
You are, yeah. Dad. I hear him in the background. I love it. That's my son. Sounds like my son when he wants something like pizza or Steam money or something like that. So anyways, you guys are making this 600-mile trip to the Nether Mountains. So you have flown for 2 days on the back of the dragon, and Otari, she has told you that you are going to meet 5 ancient dragons. 4, including yourself, to make 5. So the first one that you're going to be meeting, she is telling you that you are going to meet a female copper an ancient copper dragon, and her name is Tazmikella. And you are also going to be meeting a male ancient bronze dragon that is named Nimar. Then you're going to be meeting Ilfothra, the male ancient brass dragon, and then you are going to be meeting which is basically the one who is summoned, and basically the leader and the most well-respected and the most renowned of all of the metallic ancient dragons, and this is Protanthar, which is the male gold dragon. And Otari is the silver. She is a female silver dragon. So there you go. Alright, so you guys make the 2-day trip. Do you have any questions that you want to ask Otari as you're making the journey? You have 2 days to ask any questions.
I do have one question.
Sure.
How do I use the bathroom when I'm on the back of a dragon for 2 days?
Oh, she says you just hang it over. No,
right.
No, but as you're traveling, you see that there have been several other places of carnage where other dragons have attacked, probably where these cultists have attacked, and you guys have stopped several times, asked questions, and this is along your way to the Nether Mountains. So you've had plenty of time to, rest, get food, etc., and you make your way to the Nether Mountains. So you guys can ask any questions.
I went to the bathroom just after we took off.
So you guys are just worried about taking bathroom breaks and stuff. All right.
I don't like heights.
So does that make you go to the bathroom more frequently, Shrump?
Almost instantly.
Oh my gosh.
Did we? I'm just sorry, Dave. I neglected to ask. Did we send a message via the Hippogriff riders to the king of the elves to warn him of his son's impending plans of death for him?
That is up to you guys. Did you guys do that, or
Absolutely
we did indeed?
not.
Or are you going to wait until you get back to the council? I didn't know.
So. I'd like to send word.
Okay.
Immediately to warn him of his son's nefarious plans.
Okay. Yeah, and he did not have the green mask either, so that was another thing that you guys had thought that intelligence was saying that he possibly could have had the green mask because he was controlling Chuff, that adult green dragon, but there was no green mask. All right. Any other questions for Otari, the ancient silver dragon?
Should we ask her anything about what we should expect at this meeting, or?
Oh yeah, you can ask all you want. Yeah, absolutely. And she is. She looks over her shoulders as she is flying. You guys are, flying over the high forest, and she kind of reaches back and with her her long neck, and she says, ask any questions you have. You need to prepare yourselves, as you are meeting some of the most respected dragons in all of the world.
So that probably means I'll do all the talking, Widow.
Shut the hell up, Tiberius.
Don't worry, I think I can manage to do some talking and all.
Yeah,
well, could you give us any insight into what the other metallic dragons, or what all of you are hoping to accomplish, and what?
Of course. Yeah,
Go ahead.
and she says, of course, we're trying to determine if A, the humanoid races can work together and actually make this happen, or do we not help you and just intervene ourselves? But if we do that, that could, if we have no other allies, could that hurt us as as the dragons? Would that hurt us? There's a lot of a couple other things that she mentions about Protanthar. He really doesn't like. He definitely does not like elves. So she warns you of that. And he is a little cautious of humans, but not as cautious of the elves, though. He just simply does not trust the elves. He just simply, and he'll get into that later on. She says it's about the the Draconage mythal, which is basically how the elves were using mind powers and mind magic of the on the minds of the dragons and controlling them, making them go mad, fight one another and whatnot. So they don't they don't like the elves because of that. Now you're also going to have to worry about Eleuthera. Now Eleuthera, she's kind of doesn't trust anyone either that's not a dragon, and pretty much one of the I think it was one of the masks was made of some of the remains of one of her ancestors. Several of her ancestors made a couple of the masks, and so she's going to want these. She's probably going to want the mask. So she's warning you about that. Her herself, she has a concession, but it's not important right now, because there's really she looks at all of you and then she says, thankfully you have no dwarfs as companions, and that's pretty much all she says. And then there's Nimr, which Nimr is really, he's she says that he's neutral to everyone because a lot of his life as in human form, he lived with the humans and lived with the elves. So he is biased on the council to actually help all of you. And then there's Tazmikella, which is the other female dragon, which is she is the copper dragon. And she also kind of laughs and says, thankfully none of you are dragonborn either, because there's just a lot of things between her and the dragonborn.
So are we there now? Are we?
No,
in the
this
thing?
is just all. This is during the flight.
These are just like
yeah.
anecdotes and
yeah,
stuff.
things that you guys were inquiring about.
Yeah, it's just a conversation that I'm having with her.
So she asks,
well,
is there anything else?
We have an elf, a half elf, and a human that wishes he was an elf. So maybe the orc should be the one doing the talking.
she just kind of
that's music to my ears.
But then she looks towards you, Shrump, and says, the orcs come from elves, right? she laughs a little bit and continues
you're like
to fly on.
Gigantic, hairy.
No, you guys are like all the worst parts of the crap that is left over after an elf is born. The rest is orcs.
Oh Lord.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh, I don't think so, Sonny Jim. Don't think so at all. We of the orcish race is as some of the finest bloodlines. What is available, and some of the purest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. When an elf is born, the discarded placenta is buried in the ground, and an orc grows from it.
Ooh,
I learned that in school too.
Nah, that you're thinking of dwarfs. What comes out of the ground? Orcs is what you get after a big battle, because we are born of blood and battle and war.
Love it.
Wow.
Wow. You didn't really have a lot of heart in that one, Shrub.
I did feel like I really did get rather loud. Wow. But it is sort of almost 10 p.m. here on, and I really didn't think that my neighbours would appreciate an orcish battle cry, at least not without calling the authorities again.
Oh, again. That's a story we need to know about
and
later
the
on.
restraining order still stands, so
Oh my
I
gosh.
can't risk it.
Is your wall at least 50 foot thick to where you're not within 50 feet of him? I'm just kidding.
Well, it just sounds like
it's
we
that
need
bad. I've
to.
actually had to move next door.
It sounds like we just need to play this very diplomatically.
Don't worry, trust
That's
me.
why I'm
Larfolk.
thinking, and that's why I'm thinking maybe I should be in control of this here conversation.
That's what you're
right, that's
thinking? I say we
Yeah,
take a
policy
vote.
elf.
Who should be the one in control of the conversation? Hands up for Tiberius.
Well, there we are. No movement.
I can just imagine Tiberius as you're saying that. All right, put your hands up. I can just imagine Tiberius kind of like wetting the end of his fingers and kind of like just like stroking down his elvish eyebrows. You know what I mean? His waxed eyebrows. I can just imagine that.
I am like the medieval fawns.
Unbelievable.
Oh, good lord.
Unbelievable. I love it. Any other questions, my little friends?
So is there any special formality? I haven't actually ever talked to dragons per se. Is there any special formality that we have to follow as we address dragons? Like,
Yes.
call them all your majesty?
No,
Or
all you have to do with dragons is real simple. I've done this before. All you have to do with dragons is look them in the eye, scream, charge, and die. And then and from that bit on, it's all fairly easy.
Okay, I'm gonna amend my vote to not allow Shrump to communicate with the Council of
What
Chromatic
Julian's gonna
Dragons.
have
I love it.
I'm raising my hand.
I hope you do remember that Shrump is absolutely afeared of dragons, but also hates them for the hideous burn and head wound that he has.
Oh, that's right.
And
yeah.
how did you get that big head wound, Shrump?
I had half the hair on my head burnt off with a huge scar, and that was by a fire dragon.
So is it
A
like
red scaly
like
thing.
half your head is bald and scarred?
Yes,
and
it's
then
all
half-
puckered and scarred and looks quite
couple
quite
few-
brutal.
A couple few clumps of hairs coming out of the side, maybe.
Maybe the odd clump of 2 or 3 lonely hairs, but that's about
Crazy
it.
hairs.
It's like the world's worst comb over.
Jeez.
Oh my
Well,
goodness.
before we land, I'll definitely pull up my little black silver hood or black silk hood and cover up the old any of the elven features a little bit and see how that goes. But yes, I will have to unfortunately vote for Tiberius on this one since humans seem to be more tolerated among these particular dragons.
I thought you were
No,
actually
they're
just
not.
saying
No,
you
they're
were
not.
gonna pull out your deck of many things that you had.
Maybe you'll switch races to something everybody hates, like a dwarf.
Absolutely.
Oh, I would so
Is that
do
in the
that.
deck, Dave?
I would so do that. That would be a or maybe a dragonborn, and then I would change your sex also. That would be so awesome. So you now be
I
a
wanted to be a
male.
dragonborn when I grew up, but
Is it along with it any desire to play the character? I do
So-
not play male characters.
So
well.
kind of back to the matter at hand, which I was thinking I need to know if there's any kind of special formalities that I'll need to genuflect or whatever I need to do when I'm addressing dragons.
Well, there's a lot of tribute. She warned you that there are mounds of tribute as high as your eyes can see into the darkness. And she warned you that don't take anything. She says Taz McKella especially will be able
So I think
to
when she says
tell
don't
if you take anything. Yes.
I'm just imagining that all of us exactly look at Widow at the exact same time.
I was just thinking exactly the same thing. So I believe
Exactly.
it does happen like that.
Don't
What are
take
you freaks
anything.
looking at me for?
Yeah, so Widow, just as an FYI, don't take anything. I don't want every dragon.
I would never. I'd steal? Sir, what are you accusing me of?
Careful there, Tiberius. She'll knock you down when her nose starts growing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And she also says one last thing, but we dragons love treasure as well, so we will always, maybe sometimes we expect offerage, sometimes we like to have it. And she kind of like winks one of her big dragon eyes at you. She says sometimes dragons like tributes as well. That could possibly swing the favor of some of the other dragons.
All right. Well, it's got to be mounds of tribute. I don't think we are prepared with mounds of tribute. But let's see what we have.
There's no tribute that is.
And we've got Misty and need mounds of tribute. So what we need is Misty mounds.
She says no amount of tribute is too little, even down to the copper piece. Dragons of all treasure. So any final requests or questions for Otari as the Nether Mountains start to fill the horizon in front of you?
Nothing for me.
That's it.
Nothing I can think of.
Okay.
Nothing that Shrump would think of start asking.
Okay. Anything for you, Vay?
No.
Okay. So you guys get to one of the highest peaks of the Nether Mountains, and Otari just kind of flutters her wings and gracefully lands in sort of like I would say a nook between about 6 or 7 mountains, and there is a huge cave that a huge hole in the sides of one of these mountains, and Otari, she helps everyone down. You guys no longer have this ward on you anymore, and everybody gets off and stretches and all that good stuff after the long 2-day ride. Plus, like I said, you guys had stopped several times anyway. Now, as you start to go through this tunnel, I mean, it is nothing fancy. It's not the big grand halls of the dwarves or the architecture of elves. It's just plain. It's just a natural earth cavern, and it goes for quite a ways. I'd say probably a good 300 to 400 yards, and at this time, before you enter the actual cave, Otari. She turns from her dragon form, so from her silver dragon form, to the elf that you had seen back in Waterdeep. So she is basically traveling with you. And as you get to, there's sort of like a crossroads, and the crossroads kind of opens up into halls. So now you're starting to see a little bit more architecture, and it is architecture of the dwarves. You can just look at it. There are hammers, basically engraved into the walls and into the columns, the pillars, and it's definitely dwarvish architecture, probably of some old ancient dwarvish civilization from many, many, many years ago. And it is a very cold place. The Nether Mountains were really high. Lots of snow on all of the mountain tops, on all of the peaks. The clouds had been lying low as well, so you could actually see that it's like almost was like you could just reach out and grab the clouds. I mean, the clouds you guys were that high up, basically.
Oh, somebody stop Misty before she grabs something.
So she escorts you into this sort of like this antechamber that has like a crossroads, and she just ushers you straight down the hall, and it is like a long, very long, pillared, sort of like a bridge over a gaping chasm that is under you, and under you you can see that the darkness. You can see down towards the bottom, you can see that there is like a lava that is illuminating, and you can see that it's probably about 200 yards beneath you, 250 yards beneath you, and you can see that it's actually flowing. and you can see that it's spurting up, well into the air, pockets of this lava that's spewing up. And so you can tell that, the lava is flowing beneath this bridge that you're walking across. And it's still very chilly in here. So
Even with the lava underneath there boiling away?
Yeah, it's 250 yards away, so, yeah.
Okay.
Now, if you were closer, sure, it'd be a little bit warmer, but, yeah.
I mean, we're going to be walking over a carved bridge. Okay. I mean, does it look kind of steady? I mean, I get that dwarves built this, but before I, put my life on the line and kind of truck across this, I might just stop and kind of adjust my shoe or something and let Widow go in front of me so she could be the first person over, just in case.
So you're just kind of like stepping gingerly on
That's
the
right.
bridge?
I'll like stop and pretend like there's like a rock in my shoe, and while everybody kind of goes on the bridge in front of me, I'm just going to make sure it looks pretty solid while I pretend to get a rock out of my shoe, and then I'll catch up if it looks good.
Yeah. Otari, she's going out across this bridge, which is, like I said, probably a couple hundred yards, and she just kind of looks back and asks if you're okay. She asks you if you need to be carried across. Are you okay?
Oh, I'm fine, Atari. I appreciate your concern. Just had a little pebble in my shoe. You know how it is. Being a noble and all, I'm used to riding in a giant carriage being ported by my servants.
Shrump gives the parapet of the bridge a jolly good kick with his boots just to make sure it's solid and real.
Yeah, actually, it starts to crack. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm paying no mind to
That
any
would
of
be
them.
awesome.
I'm just following Atari across the bridge.
Yeah, Atari, she looks at you, Shrump, she says, if you're worried about the bridge falling, I can pretty much guarantee that the bridge is pretty solid. I've walked this bridge many a times to many other of these council meetings with the other ancient dragons. She says, it hasn't fallen yet, so I'm not expecting it to fall anytime soon.
Right, you lot are all really big and fat, so it's got to be safe.
But
right,
if it does, I can still turn into a dragon and fly away anyway, so, yeah.
Because stuff you mortal.
Alright, so you get across the bridge, and then you start to enter a chamber, and the chamber is just, it's plain Jane. I mean, it is just plain. And it starts to get darker as you're going into this chamber. And, Otari, she just continues to walk. So I believe everybody has dark vision, right?
Except Tiberius.
Oh, that's right. The human.
The Ooman.
So I guess Tiberius, you stop and cast. Well, you continue to go and cast light or something.
Yeah, I'll just throw a light spell. I'll just use my cantrip and
sure.
illumine, and then I'll light up my staff, and I'll just continue trucking like it's nobody's business.
Okay, sure. So as Otari, she leads you into this last doorway. It seems. She says, "Beyond this door is where the council meets." Says, just remember, you are in the presence of the most powerful dragons in all of the lands. And then she pushes the door open, stands to the side, and ushers you in. Now, as the door opens...
before you go, I may want to cast Silence on Shrump. Give me 1 second to look that spell up. Alright, never mind. It's in an area, so that's not going to work.
Okay. Love it. Alright, so as Otari stands to the side, she kind of gives you the usher, with her hand as she kind of leads you in. And you guys
I'm going to brush my... I'll tell you, it's been kind of a long trip, so I'm going to straighten my clothes and brush any kind of dirt or anything that's off, and formulate myself, lick my hands and smooth out my eyebrows, and maybe manage the tangles in my hair a bit. And then I'll confidently walk into the next room with my head held high.